Okay, so I am Monica Gillespie, and your name is?
Jonathan Cruz.
And what do you teach here?
6th grade science.
Perfect. So this is a pre-conference observation. I just have a few questions for you, and we can go from there.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want to share anything good before we get started?
Yeah. So I have been running.
Yeah.
Every day for like almost the past month, all of January, I've been running. So brought it into February.
Heck yes.
A lot more than I thought I would do. A lot of consistency there. Doing it.
Good job. Good job.
Thank you.
My good thing, I think, I got my hair done yesterday, and so I feel fresh and more like myself, ready for springtime. I don't like. I'm sad that the weather is changing to be cold next week. This is ridiculous.
I don't like that.
Okay, so what are you currently working on in your lesson plans?
So currently we started our Unit 6, which is Earth's Resources, and we're about 2.5 weeks into it. We're going to our 3rd week of this 4-week unit.
How's it going?
It's going pretty well. It actually helped that another class that they're in has been talking about something similar, which is reduce, reuse, recycle. So they've been doing a project there and kind of tying into what we're doing here with how to actually manage those resources and what it does in terms of like cause and effect with the environment.
Oh, perfect. So they're kind of hearing the vocabulary more than once.
Yeah.
Cool. What are some objectives that you'll be addressing in your lesson?
So the TEAC itself is to research and describe why resource management is important in reducing global energy poverty, malnutrition, and air and water pollution. And so our main objective that we're covering for this upcoming project that we're discussing is I can research non-renewable and renewable resources using Chromebook and Notes. The way that we came up with that is because we do want them researching, and so we're going to be giving them a specific topic, whether it's malnutrition, energy poverty, or air and water pollution in a specific country, so they can broaden just not what they're used to seeing. So outside of Texas, outside of the United States, there is other places in the country that are experiencing malnutrition, something that they might not be used to, because everybody has a phone nowadays. Everybody has access to food to them. So trying to broaden them to really see what other places are like.
I think that is something difficult to get them to understand as 6th graders is like that this is not everywhere. Like not everyone rides a bus to school, and not everyone lives in a house with 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and has running water. I know that a lot of them struggle with the idea of like kids their age not having enough to eat. I think that's very hard to grasp.
Even not even having a phone.
Right.
Like not even having a phone to some of the kids is like weird. And I'm like,
and it's 2025. But it's normal for them. They don't know any different. But it is, that's something difficult. It's challenging to teach that like it's different for everybody. Like there's some kids that go to school with no shoes on, and that's normal.
Yeah.
It'd be weird if you had shoes. Okay, cool. Where is the lesson in the context of the plans?
So the project is more towards the end of our unit. So it's a 4-week unit. So it is in our 3rd week of it. The reason why we did that was because we want to give like the first 2 weeks to like kind of really learn more about that vocabulary, get that understanding, do some more hands-on things to kind of grasp it more. And then that 3rd week and 4th week to really show me what you know. That 4th week, us testing, 3rd week, doing that research project. So really getting to see what do they know, can they reflect, can they share that information, can they not? So if they are struggling on the project that 3rd week, then I know that 4th week when it is time to test, okay, we do got to kind of clean up these areas because during the project, they weren't really understanding malnutrition. And now I know when it's time to review, okay, cool, we have malnutrition to study up on before we test, just to really make sure that they do provide their best effort on that test.
And it's a week-long project?
Yes, it's
3 or 4 days?
3 days worth of research, 1 day to present.
Okay, they are presenting.
Yes.
Okay, very nice. How will you assess whether or not students met the objectives in the lesson?
So for this project, we do have a rubric built. One of those days, the first day that they get the project, we are going to review the rubric just so they know this is what we're looking for and everything of that nature. From there, we'll be given the rubric themselves. They could check off what they have and visually see, okay, I have this, I don't have this. I need to make sure I get that part. And then when it's time for me to grade it, there's no confusions on, oh, I got a 70, I got a 60, or I got 100. Yeah, I didn't have that. I do understand why I got the 70. I did have all that. I understand why I have my 100. Just so they know how it's being scored, I know how it's being scored, and there is no debate on what the score actually was.
So there's some holding them somewhat accountable.
Yes.
So if they choose to look at YouTube or Edpuzzles all day for the next 3 days, then and their project will reflect that.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, I like that. Is there anything in particular you want me to look for during your observation? Do you have behaviors? Do you have you want to do classroom management? Is there anything going on with that?
So I know obviously you come to whichever class you decide to show up to. Obviously all of the classes have their little hiccups and challenges here and there. So would definitely love to see, like, maybe there is something I am not doing fully proficient. If there's something I could be doing better in terms of classroom management, or I feel like for the most part I am doing pretty well in that aspect, but sometimes there are some students that it is a bit of a hassle to make sure that they are on top of their task, and maybe you have some type of things I could use for that specific student or students.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you plan on kind of wrapping it up? How will you know that your kids have hit the mark on the expectation and the TEK, and just making sure they're fully absorbing the information?
Yeah, so the whole ask for this project is for them to really show us that they do understand it, that they're able to go use their resources, find information out in the real world, and really bring it back to the whole class and really talk to us about it. I don't want just them reading off of a little script. I want them to really educate themselves on it, really read up on that malnutrition, the energy poverty, how it is affecting those people, and really kind of compare to themselves. Like, they know they get to go home every day with the heater or the AC and be warm and toasty or nice and cold, whereas other people, they don't have that access. They can't just put their phone on the charger and know that they have it the next day. And so really getting them to see that there are causes and effects to everything that's out there. And so based off of how they do perform on this project, seeing if, the large majority is having a passing average, really able to articulate what their findings were, that's going to really show me that they met the mark for this standard. If I see that there was more struggles with really finding good research and providing good information over their topic, then we might have to spend a little bit more time really getting it together.
Right.
So because like I said, the next week they're testing, and I don't want them to do bad on the test that I know that they've been working really hard to get to.
Okay, is this an individual project or is this in groups?
So it is going to be in groups. So it's going to be from 2 to 4. Okay. I don't want nobody working alone because I do think that it is a lot of information that they are going to have to gather. And I think that when they do get to collaborate together, it brings the best, especially when it comes to presenting. I know that they're 6th graders, 11 to 13 years old. They're very nervous to go up there all alone and present.
Yeah.
So having somebody there, at least one person, will hopefully open them up to be able to present the best that they can. Because I know it does get scary. I was there before. I used to be scared. I used to be nervous
11,
too.
right?
Yeah, I used to be nervous too, going in front of the whole class. So that was the whole idea of doing groups. So for most classes, I'm letting them choose the groups.
Okay.
the classes that I know that they probably won't make the best decisions,
Right.
I'll choose the groups myself, just to ensure that I know that there's going to be working happening
Something
throughout the
gets
whole
done.
week. Yes, because those classes, I let them choose their own groups, they probably won't
Choose
be
their
working.
besties.
Yeah, they're just going to choose the besties and not
Yeah.
really work that well.
Yeah. Okay, and then reflecting on what they've learned at the end of the project, what is your goal with that? Are they going to be able to, like, is the idea able for them to have the ability to kind of not necessarily recite the vocabulary words in the definition, but be able to give real world examples? Is that something that we're looking for?
Yeah, so with the whole TEAG talking about researching and describing, it definitely sounds like it's not something that they just want them to be able to recite what the definition of malnutrition or energy poverty. That it wants them to be able to really apply what they learned. That if I go chop down 100 trees, that's going to affect the air quality in my area. If I start building a whole bunch of factories, it's going to start polluting the areas. If I start throwing trash in the water, it's going to pollute the water and things of that nature. And really just getting them to really see that for everything that happens, there's something else that's going to happen in the
Right.
effect.
And that ties in kind of to sixth grade's first couple units. Every action has a reaction, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything else you would like to discuss before your observation?
Other than like I said, just keep an eye out what I can be doing better.
Okay.
Whether it's classroom management, maybe there are certain things that I do know that they have been struggling with the whole malnutrition thing. Maybe it is something that I'm doing on my end. Maybe I'm not really breaking it down to like the level that they need to hear it in. Maybe I am overcomplicating it. The arrangements of the seatings.
Okay.
So I know I've talked with other team members, but there are some students that they don't have. So just really trying to find that good pairing and really getting them like in the best place possible to succeed in the classroom.
Because I know just through the hallways and things like that from students, like you have a great relationship with them. And I'm sure, I haven't heard of any issues in the classroom essentially. Are there any other special circumstances you want me to know about prior to coming in?
No, for the most part, our class is very, I think, on board with what's expected.
Okay.
Backpacks always in the front of the room, no phones and nothing on them at all. They all know the expectations on how to come in the room, leave the room. So nothing out of the ordinary for the way that classroom is ran.
Okay.
Some students do have special seating assignments based off of prior experiences in the classroom.
Right.
So some may be sitting alone, some may be sitting near me, depending on what their needs are for the class.
Okay.
So that's the main thing, just special seating assignments for some of the students.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, I look forward to observing you in the next couple of days. Thank you so much.
Yes, no problem. Thank you.
Excuse me. Okay, so we are with Jonathan Cruz doing your post observation for T-test. Sixth grade science. The lesson was over non-renewable and renewable resources.
Yes.
Give or take. Okay. How do you feel your lesson went?
I think overall it went really well. The students were actively engaged, made sure that there was something for every student to be a part of. Making sure that some students weren't able to just sit there not working. And also, even my lower students, that they felt confident enough to be able to actually engage in the activity. I feel like it was a good medium of challenging as well as low enough for all learners to be able to engage.
Okay, so I came in 8th period, so there's a little bit of behavior in that class.
Yes.
I think the friend did very well. I know one of his things is does the work and gets to leave.
Yeah.
I felt that he sat well with his friends and complied with your instruction. What do you think?
Yes. Getting him to do the work. That's always the challenge. But just making those agreements with him, letting him know hey, you get the work done, you do and actually work on the work, not just okay, Mr. Cruz, I did the work and it's not actually done.
Yeah.
He just wrote some things down to
Mhm.
make it look like he worked. Him actually actively engaged in the activity, working on it,
Mhm.
and then knowing that he has a reward. So he likes to go to his other room
Yeah.
and get it like kind of like
Cool down.
cool down.
A
And
preferred
yeah, and he loves
task.
it, and so it's been effective in getting him to actually do work and good work that I know he's capable of doing.
Hmm. I will say I like the way that you talk to him. I think with him and his personality, being very clear and direct is important. He needs to know the boundaries and what are the expectations. So being again firm, kind but firm, but in telling him like, no, you need to do these 1 through 5. You complete 1 through 5, you can X, Y, Z,
Yes.
and then reminding him to stay on task and not distracting his friends.
And then even like those positive reinforcements, even if he doesn't show that he loves it,
Mhm.
he does.
Yeah.
He loves hearing that you're doing a good job. 'Cause
Yeah.
obviously, there's a lot of times for the redirection of him not doing a good job.
Mhm.
So he always usually hears the negative side.
Right.
So hearing that good, like, hey, good job, man,
Mhm.
you're doing great, is a lot better than, hey, stop doing that, do this.
Right.
And yeah.
Yeah. No, I liked instead of being like stay like get back in your like find your seat. It was more like, hey, thanks for sitting so nicely in your chair.
Yeah.
Like that's really cool. Like thanks for X, Y, whatever,
Mhm.
So I think you did really well. I know it can be a little overwhelming having extra guests in the room, especially on a class that is kind of willy nilly. You don't know what to expect with them. I thought your lesson was fun and exciting. I did write a few things down that I noticed. Like I said, I like the way that you interact with the student with behavior. We know him. To know him is to love him. He's a little wild, but and then those that aren't quite hitting the mark, the way you can kind of redirect them as well in situations. I know that in 6th grade you want to be with your friends,
Mhm.
and 8th period the car line is lining up and you're waiting. You're ready to go.
Yeah.
3:50, we're dying.
Yes.
Dismissal at 4:20, we're dying. Like we're ready to go. So yeah, I think those were really great things. Do you feel that you kind of made all the instructional strategies to get to your students who learn differently?
Yeah, so I do feel like I did.
Mhm.
I made sure that there was something visual, auditory, as well as like hands-on
Mhm.
throughout the whole unit, or not the unit, the lesson
Right.
itself. Because I do know that some work well for others,
Mhm.
and especially for those ESL students or the SPED students, I know they need to visually see something, be able to feel something. And even the on-level students,
Mhm.
that works well for them too, because they all need the help, really.
Mhm.
So I do feel like the lesson did help target all that for those students.
Mhm.
And I think overall, the lesson was a success.
Mhm.
And I feel like the students were able to leave that proud, because sometimes they do leave a class and a little defeated,
Right.
because they struggled,
Mhm.
they didn't really understand what they were doing, and now we're all crying all together.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
looking at them like, what went wrong? They're looking at me like, I don't get it.
Mhm.
Help. And I'm like,
We're all drowning.
we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna get through it together.
The vocabulary this unit is very tricky. They're very
Mhm.
large words.
Yes.
And I think, like as we said for pre-conference, it was difficult to get them to understand how different areas of the world are living, even though like you look outside and we have clean roads and cars that drive and we got grocery stores and everything's pretty unlimited.
Yeah.
To realize that other people and kids their age have very limited
Mhm.
resources. I think that's very difficult for them to understand. What strategies did you use to gather and input data for your students while this lesson was going on?
So they had a worksheet to fill out.
Mhm.
So as they were working on that worksheet, I was walking around the room, kind of keeping an eye out for common misconceptions. So for some reason, a lot of students kind of struggled with realizing that water is a renewable resource. They think just because they drink it and they can't get the water back, they can't reuse it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, no, it's a renewable resource. The whole water cycle, like we got a whole cycle for it. Like
Right.
it's
It
the same
renews.
water. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a renewable resource. Same with the sun. They're kind of struggling to like really like make that connection.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, well, can't keep on reusing the sun. I'm like, well, the sun's not
rises
leaving
every day,
yeah,
right?
the sun didn't just disappear.
Yeah, I think it's the solar panels that are very confusing because I
Yeah.
think they think that like when it's nighttime and the sun is not out, the panels are not charging. That's not necessarily true because there's still UV rays.
Yeah.
But it doesn't lose its charge when the sun, like when the lights go off, when the sun
Yeah.
goes
It
down.
just
It
isn't
doesn't.
using as much electricity,
Right.
because they have to conserve it.
Right.
It's like making those connections,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously it's tough for them to make that connection at such a young age because they don't understand it. Like us, we're adults. We know how electricity works. We know like the whole thing. They struggle to make that connection.
Mm-hmm.
It's a struggle to get them to make it
Yeah.
as well. Even just like on a lower level, not even just solar panels. It's difficult to get that
tough.
connection. But so gathering that data and then at the end of the class, like kind of having a group discussion,
Mm-hmm.
like what did you see? What did y'all get? If I see like the whole class as a whole was struggling with a question, hey,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about it. I'm seeing that we got this. It's actually this. Let me tell y'all why.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get that, okay, I see where I went wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can reuse that water. I can reuse the solar energy that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
So just getting those aha moments was really what happened.
How were you kind of encouraging your students to take risks with this lesson that you had?
Yeah. So from the very beginning, I've made it very clear and known you're going to make mistakes. It's okay. I show them all the time, like even when I'm up front, I make mistakes, and I even pointed out like, oh, I just messed up, and I make it a point of emphasis. See, like even me, a grown adult, with
Right.
college degree and everything,
Right.
still up here making mistakes. It's going to happen. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole point of learning. You're going to make mistakes. You can't learn if you don't even try.
Right.
And so just really like getting that atmosphere in the room to like where they feel comfortable enough to feel like vulnerable in the room and really put themselves in a position to make those mistakes and learn from them. So really just building that classroom trust.
Okay. Very nice. All right. Yeah, like I said, I think it went really well. I think they're very excited. And then I know that you have a pasta lab coming up.
Yes.
So they'll get to be more hands-on, which is exciting. So basically for planning domain 1, I wrote that the teacher designs clear and well-organized lessons that will reflect best practices aligned with standards that are appropriate for diverse learnings. I marked that as proficient. I think that you're pretty successful with that. For part 2 of planning, it says data and assessment. The teacher uses formal and informal methods to measure students' progress, then manages and analyzes student data to inform instruction. Again, proficient. I said that you do use formal and informal methods to measure student progress and manage the data as well. Knowledge of students. I also put proficient. Through knowledge of students and proven practices, the teacher ensures high levels of learning, social emotional development, and achievement for all students. I felt like that was a huge part in your kids that are a little bit more flighty, that require, reminders stay on task, reminders stay in your seat, reminders to come on, keep it going. Like we talked about earlier, the young man that he needs to be pat on the back and told, good job. I think you did really well with that. This other one is the teacher plans engaging flexible lessons that encourage higher order thinking, persistence, and achievement. Again, proficient. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. For domain 2, instruction. So the lesson was aligned with the TEKS and the lesson plan, the lesson scaffold for the students. Again, I placed proficient. I thought that you were able to move around the room to your higher level thinkers and lower level thinkers and kind of having them see it from both points of view, like asking them questions to be able to verbalize. And then sometimes you'd get just blank stares because they genuinely don't know. And then going backwards and being like, okay, well, didn't we just talk about water cycle? We had that lesson before Christmas break, winter break. So tell me about that. And then how do you think that a cycle becomes a cycle? And so with you being able to kind of go back and dig in their little brains about what they've previously learned and to recall, I think is super helpful. Again, the teacher supports all learners in their pursuit of high levels of academic and social emotional success. So I think that was pretty neat to see in action. Continuing, the teacher formally and informally collects, analyzes, and uses student progress data and makes needed lesson adjustments. Again, I know that you saw right away during your lesson that some kids were not understanding.
Yeah.
So you got to, in the words of everybody else, you got to pivot, right? So you tweaked it a little bit to make sure that it was on level for them, and being able to be flexible, and also them complying with that and not being like, well, first period, third period did this. Why aren't we doing that? And you don't want to be like, well, because you can't.
Yeah.
So just kind of elevating them into making them feel successful and that they get it. So again, teacher formally and informally collects, analyzes, and uses student progress data to make needed adjustments, proficient in that as well. Moving on to your learning environment, students were engaged in the lesson and activities. Students were asked a variety of questions in different styles. I put accomplished. I thought that was really impressive. Your routines and your procedures, they know exactly what to do when they walk in the room, whether that's because it's been shaped since day one and it's on the screen for them. And so I think having multiple ways of reminding students of what they do when they come in the room is super important. Like you're meeting at them at the door. Hello, how are you? Good morning, good afternoon, whatever. Don't forget you need a pencil in your journal. Again, it's on the board.
Yeah.
Again, you're saying it repeatedly at the door. So there's no reason for cartwheels to be happening in the middle of the room, which obviously did not see. So, but them knowing that's the expectation and it's never changed.
Yeah.
You may have had to remind them after winter break, of course, right? But I think the teacher organizes a safe, accessible, and an efficient classroom. I think that was great. I know as a kid, when I was a kid, I wouldn't, what are we doing next? What do we do now? So having it all laid out and teaching them to use the resources like the screen or the wall of the times that we have things going on to be I don't know, check the wall. What time is it?
Yeah.
You tell me. Is super important. Managing student behavior. The teacher establishes, communicates, and maintains clear expectations for student behavior. Again, I think that was super successful. I put proficient, of course, because he's not perfect and neither are you, right? There were a few things. You could do a token system in the fact that you get 3 green tokens and you get to go to your preferred room. Or you do these 5 questions and you get on a Chromebook for 7 minutes. Something of that nature. I said teacher uses content and expertise to design and execute lessons aligned with state standards, related content, and student needs. So with this particular student, I feel if he's sitting on the floor doing his work, he's doing his work.
Yeah, it's a win.
It's a huge win. He's not in the hallway doing cartwheels. Huge win. He's not screaming off the top of his lungs. Huge win. So if he needs to stand at the lab table to work, cool, we're working. So, and I think that seeing that and having you go around and acknowledge that he is acting appropriate and reminding him hey, I really like it. I really like the way you're sitting. I really like the way you're using your inside voice. I think you're doing a really great job. Builds his character.
Yeah. And I also think with the students as well that are in the classroom, they do they might see oh yeah, he's getting to sit, but they don't see it as why does he get to do that? They've been in the classroom with him. They know how he does act. So seeing him actually sit there doing his work, they're like, oh, okay, that is a good thing. They see it as a win for as well.
Well, and I heard
they know
a couple of his peers complimented him. Hey, or friend, you can sit with us. Because he's calm. Yeah. And we want to hang out with you when you're calm. We don't want to hang out with you when you're not following the rules. And so that reinforces the friendship type behavior with him as well, which I think was great. So we also have the differentiation of instructions, aligning methods and techniques to diverse student needs. I put proficient in that as well. I think we did both sides. Then you have classroom culture. So the teacher leads a mutually respectful and collaborative class of actively engaged learners. Accomplished. Like we've been talking about, they're all getting along. Certain friends know their boundaries and know what's to be expected along with the other kids in the class. Teacher leads a mutually respectful and collaborative class of effectively engaged learners. So I think that's very exciting. I hope you're impressed with yourself. I think it's hard.
Yes. You're in the classroom, you don't fully get to see how it goes, especially teaching it 5 different times. We all know that the unit doesn't always go the same every single class. So getting outside perspective, it's nice, especially when it is in a rougher classroom, because sometimes you go home and you're like, what am I doing wrong? Like, am I actually doing the steps? And that's what I was like saying in the pre-conference. Hey, like, look out for things that I could be doing better. I know, like, some of the students are a little bit tough to manage at times. What could I do to help manage that behavior? So it is nice seeing that obviously some things are going well.
Yes.
And working.
Yeah. No, and really for that particular student, some kind of reinforcement choice board. You read for 15 minutes, you read the article and you answer 3 to 5 questions, and then you get the Chromebook, or you get to go for a walk, or you get a fidget, or you get to sit wherever you want. Would be helpful for him also, along with the positive conversation. He needs to be told that we're happy he's here.
Yeah.
So again, additional comments from Domain 3, the learning environment. Students had clear rules and expectations that they followed. Students were actively engaged in the lesson and were respectful to each other and the teacher. Teacher used an attention getter that worked very well. So again, I think you did great. I know that it's challenging. I know January is 722 days. Yes. Feels like, right? We're finally in February. But I hope that you leave feeling proud of yourself.
Yes,
I think it's hard, and I know that second semester is difficult. We have STAR coming and all of those things. Is there anything you'd like to ask me or talk to me about?
Nothing off the top. Just thank you for. I know you're obviously very busy. There's a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
Like you just said, things start to get
spiking.
Crazy.
Spiking.
They start to spike up. So thank you for being able to take that time to watch that class, especially fun class.
Yeah.
That's what I like to call it.
I think I prefer going into those only because there's more to talk about.
Yeah.
Like if the students are on their A game, which we love, right? I mean, sure, that's great, but that's not super realistic. It's the wild classes essentially that are way more realistic and get to really peel back the layers of you as a teacher to see how you handle uncomfortable situations, or why are you doing this today when she's in here?
Because you can come to my advanced class all you want, and they know how to do X, Y, and Z without even needing to really direct them. Like they're so self-sufficient, it's almost boring at times. And I'm just I don't need me. Like I'm just like a glorified babysitter in this classroom. Hold on now. Whereas with that group, they do need me. You're
on top of it.
They're depending hard.
Yeah, because I believe you have an aide in the class too. Yes. So and that's that helps take some of the pressure off. But it's challenging, especially this time of year, right after the holiday break, and then you come back and it's hard.
Yeah.
So I think that's about all I have for you. Did you want to share any good things you have going on this weekend or anything like that?
So it's the Super Bowl. My dad invited me actually come over, so we're gonna spend
Go
some
over there.
time.
Are y'all cooking?
Hopefully he is.
Hopefully he is.
It's his house. I'm hoping he's
Oh my
provided
gosh.
something.
Yeah.
Or at least delivery. Something.
Oh my gosh,
Do
DoorDash.
something.
Good Lord. Those people are going to be making
Yes.
crazy money.
It's off my dad.
Yeah. Actually. Yeah. All right. Well, good. Thanks for your time. I appreciate you.
Yes, thank you.